Today, we are going to dive into a story that's about 2,500 years old. It's about a really stubborn monk and a wild horse. And believe it or not, it's this incredibly powerful metaphor for how to train our own minds. And it all starts with a feeling I guarantee you've had before. So, have you ever had someone give you a piece of advice you knew, like deep down you knew, was good for you, but every fiber of your being just screamed, nope, not gonna do it? That feeling right there, that's exactly where this whole story kicks off. All right, let's set the scene. We've got our two main players, the Buddha, our teacher, and a monk by the name of Bhaddāli. And this entire saga begins with one very simple suggestion. So the Buddha offers some pretty straightforward wellness advice. He says, hey, try eating just one meal a day. You'll probably feel healthier, lighter, more energetic. And Bhaddāli's reaction? It's not just no thanks, it is a total meltdown. He's hit with anxiety and distress just from the thought of it. And this wasn't just some brief moment of stubbornness. Bhaddāli's resistance was so intense that he literally ghosts his teacher and the entire community for 3 whole months. He just vanishes, knowing he failed to follow through on the training. So when his friends finally manage to coax him back, he apologizes. He says, a transgression overcame me, and he admits he was being foolish and unskillful. He clearly knows he messed up. But here's the thing. The Buddha isn't really focused on the apology. He's looking for the root cause. The Buddha accepts his apology, of course, but then he completely reframes the entire problem. He says, look, the real issue wasn't that you disobeyed me. It was the state of your mind when you resisted. And then he gives this incredible diagnosis. He uses 3 specific words from the Pali language to perfectly describe Bhaddāli's mind in that moment. He says you were rito tucho aparadho. Now, these aren't just random adjectives. They are incredibly precise, visual, diagnostic terms. So the first word is rito. A simple translation would just be empty. But if you go to the root meaning, then aruti, you get this amazing visual. It's empty like a jar or a pot with nothing inside. It means you lack inner substance. There's no core strength holding you up. The next word is tuocho, which we could translate as hollow. But again, the root image is so much more powerful. It means hollow like the chaff of a grain. You know, the worthless, papery husk you just throw away. It paints this picture of a mind that's all surface with no real substance to it. And the final word, aparadho. This doesn't just mean you were wrong or at fault. The literal meaning is to have missed the mark. Think of an archer whose arrow flies completely wide of the target. So you see, the Buddha isn't scolding him. He's giving him a clear diagnosis. Your mind, in that moment, was empty, hollow, and completely off target. So the big question is, how do you fix a mind that's empty, hollow, and off the mark? Well, the Buddha doesn't give him a 3-step life hack. Instead, he reminds Bhaddāli of a story he's told him before, a powerful metaphor for what real mental training actually looks like. He compares it to how a skilled trainer tames a wild, thoroughbred horse. It's not a quick process. It's gradual, and it requires patience. First, the horse has to get used to the bit. It's uncomfortable. It fights back. Then, it slowly learns to accept the harness and to follow direction. Bit by bit, it masters more complex skills, until finally, it's transformed into a noble, reliable, powerful royal steed. And there it is. That's the punchline. That wild, resistant, stubborn horse, that is your mind. Our minds fight discipline, they resist the bit. But what this story shows us is that with patient, skillful training, that same wild energy can be transformed. So, what's the end game here? What's the result of all this difficult training? What does it actually mean for a mind to become like a royal steed? Well, the payoff is nothing short of a total transformation of your entire being. A fully trained horse is described in the text as being worthy of a king. And in the same way, a fully trained human mind becomes what's called ahuneo, which means worthy of offerings, or worthy of the highest respect. It's a state of profound inner nobility and integrity. And this state is defined by these 10 specific qualities. Now, you probably recognize the first 8 from the Noble Eightfold Path, but then there are 2 more, right knowledge and right liberation. This isn't just a to-do list. It's a complete description of what a fully integrated, skillful, and liberated mind actually looks like. This is the goal of the training. So Bhaddāli has one last question for his teacher, and it's a question that feels incredibly modern. He's noticed that as time goes on, the number of training rules seems to keep going up, and he wants to understand why. He basically asks, hey, why did things used to be simpler? It seems like back in the day, there were fewer rules, and more people were really getting it. Now, the rules just keep piling up, but it feels like fewer people are succeeding. What is going on here? The Buddha's answer is just so practical. He says rules are never created in a vacuum. A new rule only shows up when a new problem, what he calls a corrupting influence, appears in the community. The rules are always a reaction, they're never a preemptive strike. And this just lays out the whole process so clearly. A community starts out small, it's simple. But as it gets bigger and more successful, new and unexpected problems start to pop up. So the rules have to evolve, not to restrict people for no reason, but to protect the integrity of the whole system from these new challenges. So let's just bring this all together. The untrained mind is like Bhaddāli's at the start of our story. It's resistant, it's anxious, and as the Buddha diagnosed, it's hollow and off the mark. But through that patient, step-by-step training process, just like the one for the thoroughbred horse, that same mind can become receptive, calm, strong, skillful, and ultimately worthy of respect. And that's really what this ancient story leaves us with. It's a very personal question. When you look at your own life, your own resistances, your own challenges, you just have to ask, what's the wild horse in my mind that needs some gentle, patient training today?